The first thing that pulls you in is the scent. It's not the familiar aroma of a morning brew from a machine. No, this is something else entirely. It's the smell of raw green coffee beans hitting a hot pan. Grassy, earthy. Then comes the smoke, a fragrant cloud. Incense, frankincense, myrrh. It's a purposeful smelling smoke, one that cleanses the air and announces that something special is about to happen. You're not just making coffee, you are setting a stage, preparing a space for connection and conversation. This is the beginning of the Ethiopian coffee ceremony, or buna, and it's an invitation delivered through the air itself. The sounds are just as important. There's the soft, rhythmic shaking of the pan as the host, usually a woman, expertly tosses the beans to ensure they roast evenly. You hear the crackle and pop of the beans as they transform, pale green to oily cinnamon brown to deep, dark chocolate hue. This is followed by the steady, meditative thump-thump-thump of a pestle, the mukecha grinding the freshly roasted beans in a wooden mortar, the zena. Each sound is a step in a story, a deliberate and unhurried process that tells you to slow down, to be present in this moment. Finally, the moment arrives when the coffee is served. The host pours a thin, golden stream from the jabina high above the cups, a display of grace and skill. The aroma now is different, a complex and powerful fragrance of pure, unadulterated coffee. This multi-sensory journey, from the raw scent of green beans to the final rich taste, is what makes the Ethiopian coffee ceremony so profound. It's not just a beverage, it's an experience, a performance, and a form of communication that speaks directly to the soul, welcoming you into a circle of warmth and fellowship. To understand the ceremony, you have to go back to the beginning, to the highlands of Ethiopia, where coffee itself was born. The story, as legend has it, begins with a goat herder named Kaldi. Sometime around the 9th century, Kaldi noticed his goats were uncharacteristically energetic, almost dancing after eating the bright red berries from a particular shrub. He was curious, so he tried the berries himself. He felt a surge of energy, a newfound alertness that kept him awake and lively. This was the world's first encounter with the stimulating power of the coffee cherry. It was a simple, accidental discovery that would change the world forever. Excited by his discovery, Kaldi took the berries to a local monastery. He hoped the monks would share his enthusiasm, but the chief monk was suspicious. He declared the berries the devil's work and threw them into a fire. What happened next was magic. As the beans roasted in the flames, they released an intoxicating aroma, the first coffee roast in history. The monks were captivated by the heavenly scent. They raked the roasted beans from the embers, crushed them, and dissolved them in hot water to preserve the aroma. That night, they drank the brew and discovered it helped them stay awake and alert during their long hours of prayer. From that monastery, the knowledge of coffee began to spread. First, it traveled across Ethiopia, where it was integrated into spiritual life and social life. The Sufi mystics in particular embraced coffee for its ability to enhance their concentration during religious ceremonies and long nights of chanting. The beverage was seen as a gift, a divine plant that could bring people closer to the spiritual realm and closer to each other. The legend of Kaldi and his dancing goats is more than just a folktale. It's the origin story of a global phenomenon, and its roots remain deepest in the soil of Ethiopia. In Ethiopia, coffee is not just a crop or a commodity, it is the very heartbeat of social life. The coffee ceremony is the primary vehicle for this connection. It's the social fabric that weaves together families, neighbors, and even strangers. The phrase "buna tetu," which literally means drink coffee, is an invitation to sit, talk, and share. It's an offer of friendship and a gesture of respect. When someone invites you for coffee, they are not just offering you a beverage, they are offering you their time, their company, and a place within their community. It's the most common way to socialize, to catch up on news, to discuss problems, and to celebrate life's small joys. The ceremony is a daily affair in most Ethiopian households, performed up to 3 times a day. It's a pause button on the rush of modern life. It forces you to slow down, to be deliberate, and to engage with the people around you. In a world that is increasingly fast-paced and disconnected, the Buna ceremony stands as a powerful counter-narrative. It reinforces face-to-face interaction and communal bonding. It's where business deals are informally struck, where community issues are debated, and where elders pass down wisdom and stories to the younger generation. It's the glue that holds the social structure together. The ceremony marks significant life events, weddings, religious festivals, welcoming a new baby. It's also a source of comfort during times of sorrow. By sharing coffee, the community shows its solidarity. The ceremony is a mandatory sign of hospitality. To refuse an invitation can be seen as an insult, not just refusing a drink but rejecting a bond of friendship. This tradition elevates routine into community building. It reminds everyone who partakes that human connection is a vital nutrient, just as essential as the food we eat or the water we drink. The Ethiopian coffee ceremony is a masterclass in process, a carefully choreographed performance with distinct, unhurried steps. It begins with the preparation of the space. The host, almost always a woman, lays down fresh, aromatic grasses and flowers on the floor. She lights charcoal in a small stove, the gurgira, and burns fragrant incense like frankincense or myrrh to purify the air. Next comes the washing and roasting of the beans. The host takes raw green coffee beans and carefully washes them. She places them in a long-handled pan called a menkeskesha. She holds the pan over the hot coals, shaking it rhythmically to ensure an even roast. This is a crucial and skillful part of the ceremony. As the beans heat up, they begin to crackle, moving from pale green to a warm tan and finally to a deep, dark brown. Once they reach the perfect roast, glistening with their natural oils, the host walks around the room, wafting the pan of smoking beans for each guest to savor the rich, powerful aroma. This is called the abesmamo, an invitation to appreciate the coffee with all your senses. After the roasting, the beans are ground. The host places the cooled beans into a small wooden mortar, the mukecha, and uses a heavy pestle, the zenezina, to grind them into a coarse powder. The rhythmic, pounding sound is an integral part of the ceremony's soundscape, a steady beat that marks the transition from solid bean to fragrant powder. The ground coffee is then carefully spooned into the jibina, the traditional clay coffee pot with a spherical base, a narrow neck, and a long spout. Water is added, and the jibina is placed directly on the coals to brew. The design of the jibina is ancient and brilliant, allowing the coffee to brew slowly and the grounds to settle at the bottom. When the coffee is ready, signaled by steam puffing from the spout, the brewing process is complete. Then, with remarkable poise and a steady hand, she begins the pour. Holding the jibina from a height, she fills each of the small handleless Sinai cups in a single, continuous stream, ensuring everyone receives coffee from the same brew, a symbol of shared experience and unity. The serving of the coffee is not a one-time event. It unfolds in 3 distinct rounds, each with its own name and spiritual significance. The first cup is known as the abel. It's the strongest and most potent brew, made from the initial infusion of the grounds. Boldest flavor, highest caffeine. The abel is considered the most important round, a powerful introduction to the coffee's spirit. Drinking it is like taking the first step on a shared journey, establishing a connection between host and guests, a moment of pure taste, often enjoyed without sugar. After the abel, the host adds more water to the jibina, doesn't add new grounds, and places it back on the coals to boil. This second serving is called the tona, lighter in color and flavor, mellow and gentle. The tona invites deeper conversation. Guests relax, talk becomes more fluid and personal, a time to contemplate and strengthen bonds. This round reminds us friendships deepen over time. The final round is the baraka, blessing. The host adds water and reboils the grounds for this last pour. The baraka is the lightest brew, almost like a coffee-infused tea. It's a final gift, a blessing for all who participated. Drinking the baraka brings peace, harmony, goodwill. Completing all 3 rounds is essential. Leaving before the baraka cuts the ceremony short. It's a symbolic, beautiful end to the shared experience. These 3 cups, the abel, tona, and baraka, are often described as a transformation of the spirit. First cup, strength and connection. Second, contemplation and conversation. Third, a final shared blessing. The progression is a journey, from strong awakening to gentle conclusion. A metaphor for life, friendship, and the passage of time. The 3 rounds elevate the ceremony into a ritual that nourishes body, mind, and soul. At its core, the Ethiopian coffee ceremony is an exquisite expression of hospitality. It's a formal, structured way of saying, "You are welcome here. You are valued." The effort and time the host invests is a direct measure of respect. This isn't about quickly serving a drink. It's about creating an entire experience to make someone feel honored and comfortable. In Ethiopia, a guest is considered a blessing. The coffee ceremony is how that belief is practiced. The host's grace, the host's poise, the host's attention to detail. The ceremony shows respect for elders. Traditionally, the youngest child offers the first cup to the oldest guest. This simple act is rich with meaning. It teaches the child about respect. It teaches tradition. It teaches their place in family and community. For the elder, it is a sign of deep honor, an acknowledgement of wisdom and esteem. The exchange reinforces intergenerational bonds. It ensures cultural values are passed down tangibly and heartfelt. Generosity extends beyond coffee. Hosts often offer a small snack: roasted barley, kolo, popcorn, dabo, simple bread. Providing food, no matter how humble, deepens the welcome. Guests are spiritually nourished by conversation. Guests are physically sustained by the snack. No one is ever rushed. The ceremony is a sanctuary of time. The clock seems to stop. Outsiders invited to partake find it profoundly moving. You are not just an observer. You are an active participant in giving and receiving. Host gives her time. Host gives her skill. Host gives her resources. Guest gives their presence. Guest gives their attention. Guest gives their gratitude. A reciprocal exchange that transcends language. The ceremony teaches a universal lesson. Sharing something prepared with care builds connection and belonging. As Ethiopia modernizes, so too does its most cherished ritual. The coffee ceremony is not a relic frozen in time. It is a living tradition that adapts to new environments and lifestyles. In the bustling city of Addis Ababa and in other urban centers, you see fascinating blends of the old and the new. While the full, hour-long ceremony remains the gold standard in homes, especially on weekends and special occasions, everyday life often demands a faster pace. Many urban families have developed abbreviated versions for daily consumption, perhaps pre-roasting a batch of beans to save time, or using a modern stove instead of a charcoal brazier. This evolution is most visible in the city's cafes and restaurants. Many modern coffee shops in Addis Ababa have found a way to honor the tradition while catering to a contemporary clientele. Some cafes have a dedicated corner where a woman in traditional attire performs the full ceremony, allowing tourists and locals alike to experience the ritual in its authentic form. Others offer coffee brewed in a jibina but served more quickly, providing the unique flavor of the traditional pot without the lengthy process. It's a creative compromise, a way to keep the soul of the ceremony alive within the commercial, fast-paced context of a modern cafe. Even the tools of the ceremony are evolving. While the clay jibina remains iconic, some urban households and cafes are now using electric grinders instead of the manual mukecha and zenezena. Electric stoves sometimes replace the charcoal burner, making the process cleaner and more convenient for apartment living. These adaptations are not seen as a betrayal of tradition, but as a practical response to the realities of modern urban life. The core elements, the roasting, the brewing in a jibina, and the communal sharing, remain intact, even if some of the peripheral steps are modernized for efficiency. This blending of tradition and modernity is also reflected in the social dynamics of the ceremony. While it is still predominantly performed by women, it's becoming more common to see men, especially younger ones, taking part in the preparation. In some progressive urban households, husbands and wives might share the responsibility. These shifts show that the ceremony is flexible enough to accommodate changing gender roles and social norms. It is this very adaptability that ensures its survival, allowing it to remain relevant and central to Ethiopian life, whether in a rural village or a high-rise apartment in the city. The story of the Ethiopian coffee ceremony. It's about so much more than just a beverage. It's a story about what it means to be human. It's a narrative woven with threads of history, spirituality, and community. A ritual that elevates a daily routine into a profound act of connection. From its mythical origins with Kaldi and his dancing goats, to modern-day adaptations in bustling city cafes, the ceremony has remained a steadfast anchor in Ethiopian culture. It reminds us that the most valuable things are the moments we share with others, deliberately and with intention. The ceremony's resilience lies in its balance of structure and flexibility. The traditional step, roasting, grinding, brewing, serving in 3 rounds. Yet within that framework, there's room for adaptation and personal expression. That's how it survived centuries, crossed oceans with the diaspora, and found a home in a globally connected generation. It teaches us traditions don't have to be rigid, they must hold essential meaning. In our modern world, we're often starved for genuine connection. We communicate through screens, we rush from one task to the next. The Ethiopian coffee ceremony offers a powerful antidote. It forces us to slow down, engage our senses, and focus on the people in front of us. It's a masterclass in mindfulness and hospitality, building community one cup at a time, a tradition the rest of the world could learn from. Ultimately, the Buna is a celebration of life itself. There's beauty in process, grace in sharing, and a simple cup can hold the weight of a culture and the warmth of a community. It's a legacy of connection passed down through generations, and as long as people gather, talk, and share, the rich, fragrant smoke of the Buna will continue to rise, inviting everyone to slow down, sit, and drink together.